So that was a little taste of what we do in our meditation and prayer group. So if you would like to join in those groups during the week, feel free to engage them. So here's our conversation today. And we're all so different and we all process so different. And I think that this time that we're in highlights how unique we all are and how differently we process. I had an experience a while ago. It was my first silent meditation retreat. And the silent meditation retreat was led by Reverend Robert Brummett, Unity Minister, and he is also a leader of Insight Meditation and the Buddhist way. And I remember being pretty excited, thinking, this is cool. I'm going to a silent meditation. I forget how many days it was that we were going to spend in the silence, but it was an extended period of time in the silence. And I was really proud of myself, excited, ready to feel what the experience was like. A little bit nervous, but not really. We had an evening, kind of introduction evening, where we were going to get to ask questions and discuss things. And then it was my understanding that the next day we would go into the silence. And so as I prepared for it, we're sitting there in our Sangha, and we go through the questions and any concerns that anyone has, any anxiety that's up about getting ready to be in a place where we're just with our mind and there will be no, discussion, no communication with each other. And as he finished going through the questions and answers and giving kind of like mini spiritual lessons, he said, so let's prepare for a time of meditation now. And he told us that we were getting ready to go into the silence in that moment. And that from this moment on, as we're sitting there, we will be in the silence and we won't be coming out of it, that it's starting now. All of a sudden, my excitement of thinking, I'm ready for this, went to, I'm not ready for this yet. Wait, it was going to happen in the morning. I didn't know it was going to happen right now. I knew it was going to happen in the morning, but not right now. And I started getting anxiety and I started having thoughts about that and, thinking, did I read it that it was going to be, wasn't it supposed to be in the morning? Why is it happening now? And so from right now on, I can't talk to anyone. I had phone calls I was going to make. I had things I was going to do. I could just feel, it was like palpable that I could feel almost like a muzzle that was put over my mouth. Like all of a sudden I just can't talk, like I can't talk. And we went into the silence and, I'm sitting there kind of like this, just as if somebody has their hand over my mouth going, wait. Had I known this, I would have done X, Y, and Z. And anxiety filled my body. My plans. Control, preparation, panic, anxiety, choice. How do we react when we're not in control? How do we react when we're not feeling like we're choosing? The human condition, and the experience of the human condition often has is challenged, when we lose the illusion of control. Notice that I didn't say when we lose control. When we lose the illusion of control. And I mean on a human level, on a practical level. When we don't feel like we are choosing what's going on. And that loss of illusion often goes with the loss of peace. What we often lose is our peace of mind. Richard Rohr, who leads meditations and spiritual practices, says, there is no path to peace, but peace itself is the path. There is no path to peace, but peace itself is the path. When we were in one of our discussion groups this week, someone brought up this idea that, and you can relate this to anything. So wherever your mind is, whatever came to mind when I said, lost choice or lost control, or you can apply these spiritual practices to anything. So we know what's on most of our minds in general, but this goes to anything: interpersonal, inner work, relationships, everything. But someone brought up how when isolating was her choice, and I checked that I could share this story with you, but when isolation was her choice, when she was choosing to stay home and she was choosing how she would spend this time and what her boundaries were or what her comfort level was about how she was going to react, it felt okay. It felt like a choice. Versus the moment that we got some home mandates, and whether you're not in this situation or not, where you live, in Germany or in Texas or in Florida or in Missouri or in California, we're all having different experiences of having external controls being placed upon us. And she noticed the difference. Like, see, the actions are the same, right? She's still doing the same thing. But all of a sudden, there's a different feeling, a different experience, a different response that comes up when someone tells you what to do, or when it's forced upon you, or the condition is placed upon you, or you're invited very strongly into a condition or behaviors that you may not feel like you chose. So, how does this feel? We don't want to let go of our personal freedom. The ego never wants to let go of freedom. This experience can magnify things in our core nature. This experience can magnify our coping mechanisms, our processing mechanisms, our default perceptions or perspectives. We can see ourselves in different ways. And there's a lot that's uncertain. There's a lot that's new that we're experiencing of ourselves and of our world. One thing we can control is that we can observe ourselves. We can use this time to observe ourselves, and that is one thing that we can control. And even the act of stepping into observation, even the act of watching the mind and watching our responses, watching our thoughts, shifts the energy we're in. Because we can't be obsessed with something or consumed by something. We can't be in that state of consciousness and be in observation mode. So it kind of shakes up where we are when we start to observe ourselves. And if we know anything about spiritual practice, one of the greatest gifts is observation. Often we don't want to go into observation and self-reflection, into that internal dialogue and into noticing, being vigilant with our mind and with our thoughts. We often don't want to do it when it's up, when it's just, right there. We often want to do it later on when we can talk about it, gossip about it, think about it, laugh about it, reflect on it. But if we're willing to take the opportunity to see what is magnified within us, we can learn a lot. So I invite you, if you have paper and a writing utensil there, or just to sit with this question for a moment, but what has been your response? Do a little journaling exercise, and you can do this later if you want. But have you paid attention to your body sensations? Have you paid attention to your thoughts? Have you paid attention to your responses and your reactions? Do you minimize things? Do you use humor? Do you avoid things? Do you dramatize, gossip, tell the stories, retell stories, go into paralysis or fear, go into blame, rally and get excited, not excited about what's going on, but excited about serving or doing things in new ways? Do you feel a sense of being in denial about it? Do you feel rebellion, panic? Are you rushing to the occasion for preparation? Do you go immediately to the prepared mind, which goes, I have to do this, this, and this, and just get stuff done? Do you attack? Do you serve? Look into this. It's a treasure trove. Without jumping into the risk of being too positive, which could be a risk at this time. We want to balance our practice, right? Because there is a lot of suffering going on. So we don't want to sugarcoat life. We want to be present to it. We want to be authentic, realistic, compassionate, But we also don't want to be frozen. We don't want to be stuck. We don't want to be paralyzed. We don't want to sit in fear and soak in fear or saturate our minds and our beingness or our world in fear. The master teacher was put to the test on this journey, this Lenten journey that we're experiencing now. We're getting ready to enter Holy Week. We're getting ready to, next Sunday, move into the consciousness that is Palm Sunday. And then after that, Easter and the resurrection. It's wild that this consciousness is collective and is historic as far as a spiritual practice. This is the time when he was put to the test. He stood in forgiveness. He walked in love. He offered healing. He offered teachings, even in the midst of his life being threatened. He served. He showed up. So our opportunity, if we take it, is to become more conscious, to make more choices, to find the places where we can make choices, and to become more conscious of them. Are you willing to make choices? Am I willing to make choices? I shared a couple of Sundays ago, I think it was, about the idea of this time being a spiritual sabbatical. And depending on where you are, depending on how your community is experiencing this, how your friends and your family are experiencing this, how you're experiencing this time, or whatever is on your consciousness today, whatever is up for you. The idea of spiritual sabbatical might not fit for everyone. That might feel like being too Pollyanna, or being in denial of what's going on, or being insensitive to what's going on. Some people have seen those posts that say this is the time right now where Mother Earth said, everyone go to your rooms and think about what you've done. Some people are just looking for the good, focusing on the good and seeing all the good things that are happening. And to others, that doesn't feel good. That doesn't feel right. Can you allow yourself to be where you are? Can we allow ourselves to have our own experience and to step out of being defined by the external experience primarily? Are we willing to make this ours? Can you choose what is choosing you? Can you choose what is choosing you? It's kind of a hard question. Can you choose what is choosing you? So look at what is choosing us right now. Look at what is choosing you. Look at what is choosing our world right now. What is? Can you choose it? And how do you choose it? What other choices do we have? Ever. Not just the current state of conditions, but every moment when we are staring at what is. We can choose our responses. We can choose our self-reflection. We can choose our perceptions. We can choose what we do with something. But when we try to just say, I can't choose what's choosing me because it's uncomfortable or it's uncertain, I don't know what I'm choosing, then we're just resisting the moment. We're just in resistance. Eckhart Tolle, the spiritual teacher, says, resistance is weakness and fear masquerading as strength. What the ego sees as weakness is your being in its purity, innocence, and power. What it sees as strength is weakness. So if we can take a deep breath and allow ourselves to choose what is choosing us, we take the step of getting from the passenger seat in life into the driver's seat. That doesn't mean we can control everything happening around us. That doesn't mean we can control everyone else on the road. But it means we have a steering wheel in front of us and we can be conscious. Resistance is weakness and fear, masquerading as strength. What the ego sees as weakness is your being in its purity, innocence, and power. What it sees as strength is weakness. Eckhart Tolle. He also said, if uncertainty is unacceptable to you, it turns into fear. If uncertainty is unacceptable to you, it turns into fear. if it is perfectly acceptable, it turns into increased aliveness, alertness, and creativity. I'll say that again. If uncertainty is unacceptable to you, it turns into fear. If it is perfectly acceptable, it turns into increased aliveness, alertness, and creativity. So we write this story, friends. What are our other choices? What do we do if we don't make it ours? If I can't make it mine, then what happens? Then I'm simply a part of the most dominant collective trauma rather than writing my story. That might be victim blame. That might be feeling divorced from my core, divorced from peace, love, God. We are writing a story right now. A personal, an interpersonal, and a collective story. It can be about strength, heroism, compassion, creativity, our communion, our healing, our connectedness, our unity, or it can be about fear, victimhood, collective trauma, you name it. What story are we going to write? Right now, we are living into what we will become as we move out of this. Right now, you are living into what and who you will be coming out of this time. Are you doing it consciously? Are we awake? This doesn't mean, again, stuffing or resisting or denying emotions of fear or anything like that. It doesn't mean resisting or denying anything. It means meeting it with compassion and mindfulness, meeting it with power and centeredness. These things are going to happen. We're going to experience emotions. We're going to get off our center, and then we're going to wake up, and we're going to become grounded again. We're going to engage the practice. Is this going to be a time of strength, a time of building connectedness, building our center? I have a little squirrel that's working outside and showing his face. We'll look up squirrel in the animal cards. I think I kind of know what it's about. It's like, are you going to do all this stuff on the external and, storing acorns and busy work? Or are we going to do the deep work? Nothing can divorce you from your peace of mind. Can we say that together? Nothing can divorce me from my peace of mind. Nothing can divorce us from our peace of mind. Not from love, from God. Concerns are real. They're in the experience all the time, really, right? All the time. But those concerns only need our conscious care and our conscious attention, not our soul force, our power, or our peace. They do not need to hijack those things. We just have to show up in a way that we give enough attention to the human condition so that we're informed, so that we're responsible, so that we're accountable, so that we are compassionate, so that we are sensitive, so that we are helpful, so that we are kind, so that we are awake and aware. But not so much that we are engulfed in fear, that we are stuck, that we are over empathetic, that we are imagining problems or borrowing worry, that we are living out of the present moment or into another's reality. We give it enough attention that we can be grounded and prayerful and conscious. We use our power of imagination to visualize healing, to visualize wholeness. Whether that means for you, you take a picture of that virus and you meditate with it, sending it peace, sending it love, sending it wholeness, honoring life, and inviting it into harmony. Whether you have another practice where you visualize the earth or individuals, hospitals, doctors, you just visualize sending light. But use your power of imagination for the good things, right? Harness it. Otherwise, we know where it goes. The power of imagination could go to wild places, right? That's the human condition, but it's not helpful, it's not useful. When we're in those states of mind, the best thing is to just put the muzzle on and go into silence, to be with it, not to resist it, not to muzzle it, like shut it up, but to just be with it, to just feel it and allow light to come to it and to allow presence in. We use our power of emotion to press out love, to press out goodwill, to press out prayer. And we use the power of our mind in affirmative prayer, to be repeating, using the power of the mind, the power of the word, to call forth positive things, to call forth healing, to call forth love, to call forth radical compassion, to call forth transformation of systems, to call forth the courage. This is the time when the master teacher was walking the walk, and this year, this is our Lenten journey together. It is our collective walk and our crucifixion, and it will be our resurrection. Namaste.